What if the man who raised you wasn't your savior, but your kidnapper? Her stepfather threw her out the moment he found out she was pregnant, but he had no idea. She carried a secret that could destroy him. The scorching sun beat down on the faded walls as Aria stumbled barefoot onto the dirt path, tears streaking down her cheeks. Her trembling hands clutched her rounded belly, trying to protect the life inside her from the wrath that had just erupted. The door slammed behind her with a thunderous echo. "Get out of my house, you filthy girl! You've brought shame to everything I stand for!" her stepfather roared. He hadn't let her speak, hadn't asked a single question, hadn't even really looked at her. His rage spoke louder than any truth could. And now, at just 14, Aria stood in the dust with nothing but a thin dress, a stuffed bag over her shoulder, and a baby quietly kicking inside her. She didn't scream, because it wasn't the first time she'd been discarded, only the first time someone had seen it happen. Aria had lived in that crumbling house in Darvinport for as long as she could remember. Her mother died when she was 5. Her stepfather, Nelson Greaves, never tried to hide how much he resented raising someone else's child. He never hit her, but silence, cold and calculated, was its own kind of abuse. No birthdays, no school after age 10, just endless chores and bitter warnings. When she turned 12, Aria started sneaking into the town library during delivery runs. It became her escape, a place where no one stared at her belly or her skin, where the silence was gentle. But it wasn't the books that changed everything. It was the dusty old box she found behind the district archive desk next door. She had been hired to clean, mop, sweep, file a few papers. One day she knocked over a crate and yellowed envelopes spilled out. Letters. Most addressed to someone named Elena. The name sparked something deep inside. She read every one. They spoke of a baby taken during a chaotic village raid years ago, a mother separated from her child, a photo attached to the last letter, a woman with tired but kind eyes holding a newborn wearing a cloth bracelet. Aria instinctively touched her own ankle. That faded strip of cloth had always been there. No one had ever explained it. She wasn't stupid. That night she snuck back in and stole the letters, her first real secret. Weeks passed. She told no one, not the shopkeeper's daughter who slipped her mango slices, not the old woman who gave her bracelets at the water pump. But she did trust one person, a 17-year-old delivery boy named Luca. He never looked at her like she was broken. When he found her crying behind a chicken coop one day, he didn't ask questions. He just sat beside her, day after day. What happened between them wasn't rebellion. It was refuge. When she missed her period, she knew. But before she could tell Luca, Nelson found the letters. She still didn't know how. The next morning, he was waiting in the kitchen with the box in his hands and fire in his eyes. "Where did you get these?" he growled. I was just cleaning and digging where you shouldn't." He tossed the letters into the fireplace. She screamed. "They were about my real—" "Out!" She hadn't even stopped coughing before the door slammed behind her. Now Aria stood in the golden light of late afternoon, dazed, her fingers on her belly, but her mind on those letters. They spoke of a baby stolen during a raid, given to a man connected to local officials, a man who claimed to be a rescuer, a man named Nelson Greaves, her stepfather. The man who had raised her might not have saved her. He might have stolen her. Suddenly, everything made sense. The strange birth certificate, the missing family stories, the silence from the villagers. The shame wasn't hers. It was his. But the letters were gone. No one would believe her. She had only one option now: survive and prove it. As the sun dipped behind the hills, Aria turned away from the only home she'd ever known and took her first step toward justice. For her unborn child, for the mother she never knew. "I'll find the truth," she whispered, "for both of us, always." She didn't look back. She walked barefoot for miles, until she reached a town she'd only heard of, Riverglen. No one knew her there. That made it easier to ask for help. She slept behind a shuttered tailor shop. By the second day, hunger clawed at her so fiercely she collapsed. A woman selling bread outside a clinic saw her and rushed to help. Her name was Clara. Clara took her in, fed her, gave her a bed, and, most importantly, time. Clara was a nurse, and one quiet afternoon she gently asked, "Where's your family, sweetheart?" That's when Aria broke. She told Clara everything: the pregnancy, the letters, the names, the fire. Clara didn't dismiss her. She simply stepped into the next room and returned with her phone. "I know someone, a journalist, a good one." His name was Daniel Reed, and when he heard Aria's story, he saw more than emotion. He saw a hidden scandal. Especially when Aria remembered another name, Inspector Callow. Daniel dug into old records, reached out to legal aid. Within weeks, they found sealed court documents about a baby girl who had vanished from a rural hospital 15 years earlier, the same hospital where Nelson once worked as a night janitor. The baby's mother? Elena Ndlovu. She had begged for an investigation. Nothing happened. Until now, a DNA test confirmed it. Aria wasn't Nelson's burden. She was his secret. He had taken her during a power outage, faked documents, told his wife they'd saved an abandoned infant. But after his wife died, guilt turned to resentment. Then cruelty. When Daniel's article was published, it went viral. Officials launched an inquiry. Police came to the village. At first, Nelson denied everything, until they showed him a photo of the cloth bracelet, the one Aria still wore. He went pale, and he was arrested. By then, Aria had given birth to a healthy baby girl. She named her Elena, after the mother she never knew. Clara stood beside her in the hospital room and whispered, "You're not alone anymore." Daniel contacted the real Elena. The reunion didn't happen overnight. There was fear, doubt. But when they met under a jacaranda tree near the clinic, Aria placed her daughter in the woman's arms. "She has your nose," Elena said through tears, "but your strength." Aria smiled. "She's ours now." She never went back to Darvinport. Instead, she stayed, trained as a nurse's assistant. She wanted to help girls like herself, those with no voice, no proof, just the truth in their hearts. The clinic grew, so did her daughter. And sometimes, as Aria looked out at the sunrise, she'd whisper, "You tried to bury me, but you didn't know I was a seed." One day, a scared, silent girl arrived at the clinic with bruises on her past. Aria took her hand and smiled. "You're safe now, and you're not broken." The girl looked at her for a long moment, and then nodded. Because sometimes the ones who've been hurt the most are the ones who heal the best.